Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone. The story of westward expansion in the United States is often portrayed as a tale of pioneering spirit, manifest destiny, and the boundless opportunities of an untamed frontier. However, beneath this romanticized narrative lies a darker, often overlooked chapter: the systematic displacement of indigenous peoples, including black-skinned natives, whose histories and lives were irrevocably altered by the relentless push of settlers toward the Western territories. To fully grasp this complex and painful history, we must delve into the intricate tapestry of cultures, conflicts, and enduring resilience that define the experiences of these displaced communities. In the annals of history, the presence of black-skinned indigenous peoples in the Americas has often been marginalized or erased. Yet, archaeological and historical evidence points to their existence long before European contact. From the Olmec civilization in Mesoamerica to the coastal tribes of what is now the southeastern United States, the narratives of these communities are as diverse as they are profound. They were farmers, warriors, spiritual leaders, and artisans who carved out lives in harmony with the land. However, as the wheels of westward expansion began to turn, their very existence was threatened by the encroaching tides of settlers, driven by greed, entitlement, and an unwavering belief in their divine right to conquer. The doctrine of manifest destiny, which swept through the United States in the 19th century, served as the ideological backbone for westward expansion. Proponents of this belief argued that the expansion of American territory across the continent was not only inevitable, but divinely ordained. This conviction emboldened settlers and policymakers alike to ignore the rights and humanity of those who already inhabited the land. For black-skinned natives, this ideology translated into forced removals, broken treaties, and violent confrontations. One of the most striking examples of displacement occurred during the Trail of Tears, a series of forced relocations of Native American tribes from their ancestral homelands in the southeastern United States to designated territories west of the Mississippi River. While this tragic event is often associated with tribes such as the Cherokee, Creek, and Seminole, it also encompassed smaller, lesser-known groups that included black-skinned natives. These communities were uprooted from lands they had cultivated for generations, forced to endure grueling marches under deplorable conditions, and often left to perish along the way. Families were torn apart, cultural practices suppressed, and sacred sites desecrated, leaving scars that would last for generations. The plight of black-skinned natives during westward expansion was further compounded by the intersection of race and identity in a society steeped in white supremacy. Unlike lighter-skinned indigenous groups who were often racialized as Indians and categorized within a rigid framework of savagery versus civilization, black-skinned natives faced the dual burden of being marginalized as both indigenous and black. This intersectionality rendered them even more vulnerable to exploitation, violence, and erasure. They were frequently enslaved, their identities stripped, and their histories rewritten to fit the narratives of colonial powers. Despite these immense challenges, the resilience of black-skinned natives is a testament to their unyielding spirit and determination to preserve their heritage. They resisted displacement in myriad ways, from armed uprisings to quiet acts of defiance. Leaders emerged from these struggles, figures whose names and deeds echo through history as symbols of resistance and hope. Spiritual practices were maintained in secret, oral traditions passed down through generations, and communal bonds strengthened in the face of relentless adversity. The displacement of black-skinned natives was not merely a physical uprooting but a profound cultural and spiritual dislocation. The lands they were forced to leave behind were more than just territories. They were living entities imbued with stories, rituals, and ancestral connections. To be severed from these lands was to lose a part of their identity, a wound that continues to affect their descendants to this day. The trauma of displacement is interwoven with a larger narrative of systemic oppression that has shaped the experiences of Black and Indigenous peoples in the Americas. As westward expansion pressed onward, policies and practices aimed at erasing the existence of black-skinned natives became more insidious. The creation of reservations, ostensibly to provide a haven for displaced tribes, often served as a mechanism for further marginalization.
These designated lands were frequently barren, far removed from the tribe's traditional territories, and devoid of the resources necessary for sustainable living. The government's failure to honor treaties and provide adequate support only exacerbated the suffering of these communities. In addition to the physical and cultural displacement, black-skinned natives faced a concerted effort to erase their historical contributions and presence from the national consciousness. The narratives of westward expansion have been sanitized to glorify the settler experience, leaving little room for the stories of those who were displaced, enslaved, or annihilated in its wake. This erasure has far-reaching implications, perpetuating cycles of ignorance and denial that continue to obscure the full scope of America's colonial legacy. Yet, amidst this landscape of displacement and erasure, the stories of survival and resistance shine as beacons of hope and resilience. Black-skinned natives who managed to evade capture or displacement often formed new communities in remote or inhospitable regions, where they could continue their traditions and live in relative autonomy. These enclaves became sanctuaries of cultural preservation, where languages, rituals, and histories could be safeguarded against the forces of assimilation and obliteration. The legacy of westward expansion and the displacement of black-skinned natives is a stark reminder of the enduring consequences of colonialism and systemic racism. It challenges us to confront the uncomfortable truths of our shared history and to recognize the resilience of those who have fought to preserve their identities in the face of unimaginable adversity. By unearthing and amplifying these stories, we can begin to piece together a more inclusive and honest narrative of the American experience. Today, the descendants of displaced black-skinned natives continue to grapple with the intergenerational trauma of their ancestors' experiences. They are reclaiming their histories, revitalizing their cultures, and advocating for justice and recognition. Their efforts serve as a powerful testament to the enduring strength of the human spirit and the unbreakable bond between people and their ancestral lands. The displacement of black-skinned natives during westward expansion is not merely a historical footnote. It is a vital chapter in the ongoing struggle for equity and justice. It compels us to ask difficult questions about the foundations of our society and the values we uphold. By acknowledging and honoring the experiences of these communities, we can move closer to a future where the wounds of the past are healed and the dignity of all peoples is respected and celebrated.